Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to remove this in 3 seconds. 3 seconds. There we go. Hi, how are you? My name is Conor Kelly O'Brien. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Scranton Fringe Festival. Welcome to another episode of Fringe Focus, our weekly video podcast show where we talk to various leaders in the creative cultural community. Tonight is our special Valentine's Day edition, so we're going to be having a little bit more fun, a little bit more informal conversation, but our guest is nonetheless terrific and is a creative leader herself. Our guest tonight is a writer, performer, director, costumer, and award-winning film and theater maker. She is no stranger to the Scranton Fringe stage, and she actually has hosted this show a couple of times in my absence. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Simone Daniel.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
Good. My sexy background is screwed up looking.
Your background looks very sexy.
Thank you. It's a bedspread and a sheet. Tell me put it up. I want it to look nice for a night because it's Valentine's Day and you're my Valentine.
I know. Happy Valentine's Day, my dear.
It's a happy anniversary.
It is our anniversary. So we're going to try and make this conversation not as disgusting as it could be.
But I'm glad you can get because everybody else is a real Valentine.
If you're watching this, I don't know what you were expecting. So Simone and I actually met 8 years ago, right around this time of year, because do you want to tell them, Simone?
Oh yeah, no, so a couple of friends of mine, who are really much more ambitious and well-minded than me at the time, were like, let's do the vagina monologues for V-Day. And I was like, yes, please, that would be fantastic. And they were like, there's this place called the Vintage Theater downtown, we can do it. I'm like, never heard of it, sounds great. And we went, and the first time, I met Connor and Teresa, and I was like, I'm just letting you know, I'm never leaving here. I live here now. And because I just loved it, and it smelled really cool. And they were like, haha, okay. And then after like a few weeks, you guys we were like out somewhere talking, and you were like talking about me, and you're like, hey, so like, do you have any other friends? And I was like, what? Yeah, I have so many friends, because I just was there all the time. It was quite creepy. But yeah, so here we are 8 years later, and it's me and you and Teresa's anniversary. Connor, what the? How'd you do it?
I was waiting for I was a few minutes delayed. This is actually a photograph from the photo shoot for the Vagina Monologues V-Day Scranton at the Vintage Theater in 2013. We have Simone up here in the upper left-hand corner. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how many faces would be in this that came back into our lives.
I know. It's really quite cute.
We have Simone. We have Mary Pat right here in the middle, who's now a member of the new Vintage Ensemble. That's so weird.
Crazy. Mary Pat was in that.
Totally forgot that she was. I mean, to be very honest with you, for anyone who doesn't know, the Vintage was like a performing arts coffee shop visual space. So we had people renting it all the time. I mean, so I could not have told you 30 seconds ago, besides Simone, who was involved in this. There's Camille. Wow, my goodness. Ashley Cheatham, of course. Devin, Rebecca, Julia, wow, Stephanie, Cecilia. There's a lot of people in this. Oh my God.
Organized it.
Who organized it?
Rebecca. It was her. I think it was her idea. It was everybody's idea. It was all those ladies from the paper. It was there.
Yeah. And then we had auditions for Pride and Prejudice. Which I'm going to try to find a photo of as well. While we're talking, and that kind of began not only our friendship but our creative partnership, and we've done lots of things since then. I didn't need Google to, in big red letters, when I Googled this, tell me that the Vintage is permanently closed. I didn't need you to do that, Google.
Noted.
I'm well aware. It's not a photo of me, but here's a photo of Simone and the two main leads of the show.
We don't have to do this. We don't have to put up.
Oh, yeah, we do.
That's not what's happening here. That's not what people want to see, and that's not what I want to do. Oh, come on, man.
You look so good. You look
more entertaining than this. There's an audience, theoretically. Come on.
There is an audience. You're right. There is an audience. But I mean, there's 6 people, and one of them is Liz, and at least one of them is Michael Flynn. So I'm pretty sure they know what they're signing up for. Hi, Liz. Hi, Michael.
Okay.
Everything that you love about Simone, or share your favorite picture in the comments, and I'll put it on the screen. So you and I so this is our 8th Valentine's, theoretically our 8th Valentine's Day together. We did it. No, in all sincerity, and I think anyone can relate to this, you have friends in your life, and I am lucky to have many, and Simone is one of them that you're so close with and you're so incestuously obsessed and in love with. It's hard for me to imagine. 8 years is a significant amount of time when you consider our relatively young lives, but it feels like it's been much longer.
Yeah, and also though, it feels like it's been less time because for a long time, like I feel like that was our excuse that we're like, we only knew each other for like 2 years. Isn't that wild? But like that is no longer charming, and we've known each other long enough that we're just weird now.
Right. But I mean, I think it's significant though, and I have beautiful friendships with many people, as do you, as you made sure you made that aware from the first time we met. That. There's friends that you meet and it takes time to develop. And of course, we're both intricate people and
there's when you fall, there's like falling madly in love with a friend. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
There's like, oh, you're great, let's hang more. And then there's someone like, I'm fucking obsessed with you and I have to hang out all the time.
Well, times that I'll be telling a story or I'll mention like something in reference and like, I mean, to this day, not as often anymore, but there are still things that we're learning about each other. And I think that's fascinating, both as friends and creative partners, to like just casually drop something and then realize, oh, right, that's from a chapter of my life that you have absolutely nothing reference to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I feel it's a shame that you didn't know me in grade school because that was me definitely at my most tragic. No, middle school. And I feel like you would have really enjoyed that. You would have really.
I think that would have been a mutual. I agree, and I echo that sentiment.
You're probably a very sad little boy, and I wish I could have known him.
Oh, not even just sad, just angry, angry. What's that? Well, what's the movie that you and your mom went to, and you said it was like the Conor O'Brien school years?
Oh, what the fuck? The Imitation Game.
About Alan Turing, right?
Alan Turing, yeah.
Specifically when he was younger, right?
Yeah, no, you're not like breaking Nazi code, but you're definitely falling in love with the doomed young man at a boarding school who dies tragically young, sitting under a tree reading poetry and stuff.
Just angry at the world and just wanting somebody to see.
Tell the rule about our fantasies. They have to be a little bit depressing, otherwise they're not believable.
I will stand by this. One time Simone and I were drunkenly heading uptown in Manhattan back to her apartment in a cab. And we were, I shouldn't say drunkenly, we were just buzzed and we were treating ourselves after a nice night out to a taxi cab instead of the longest subway ride in existence. And I remember just like looking at the lights going by and I was dead serious. It was not a bit when I said that, someday I imagine coming back up here to live in my apartment with my husband after he gave me a hard time because I didn't go to college. And I think it's important that our fantasies are grounded a little bit in reality. And I think on Valentine's Day, for me, it makes them attainable, right? Like there can't be a rose without thorns, to use a cheap cliche. So like there has to be some nitty gritty to it, but that makes it real. We have a comment from Liz that says, I want to see it. I'm not sure I'm sorry, Liz, we were talking for a while. I don't know what that's in reference to.
Oh, maybe you being a sad little boy.
Under a tree, maybe. I mean, she probably would state that as well. Maybe she meant you in middle school.
Oh, no, you know what? Speaking of, okay, so I watched the new To All the Boys I've Loved Before movie last night.
Okay.
I'm not giving away any spoilers.
Sure.
But it was too cute. And like, it wasn't like they were dealing with stuff and it was like a real couple, but they were just so happy to be around each other that I'm there and I'm like talking to my sister. I was like, I don't understand couples like that. Like, why would you be so happy to be with somebody all the time? Like, and like, they're like just in your face. And then there was like another couple who was like bickering and competing with each other. I'm like, oh, this makes sense to me. This I understand. But the really happy couple, I was very unsettled by, and I didn't enjoy watching them be together at all. Yeah,
I don't know about you. I mean, someday I want that, of course, and I think most people, well, not everyone, but most people do. Unless I'm so like out of touch with my emotions and my mental state, I'm really okay with being single right now.
Being single, I love being single, especially when I leave quarantine. I'm going to be very excited to be single, and especially during quarantine, I've also could not have been more excited.
I mean, there's parts of like physical intimacy, of course, that I miss, but like that aside, and that's such a minor part of a relationship. Not minor, but that's such a small part of a relationship. I'm so grateful to have my privacy. Like
little space, little privacy. I got to like grow or whatever I did for the last like year or so, whatever, you know.
I'll tell you this much. I wouldn't want to live with me during quarantine.
I've never been happier to be single on Valentine's Day in my whole life.
Right. Honestly, yes, honest to God. I mean, because I have been in relationships on Valentine's Day. I have been single. And sometimes, not because I care, but like the social pressure of like, it's Valentine's Day and I'm alone. I don't know doing anything. And this was probably the first year that I was completely like, it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah. I've actually, what? Well, it doesn't matter. Oh, nothing. Well, nothing matters, Connor. Nothing matters anymore.
No, I was going to ask you if you had any, in pre-COVID times, if you had any Valentine's Day traditions, but I think.
Oh, yeah, I have great Valentine's Day traditions. So me and my best friend from college, we get together and we get our auras read at the Crystal Shop in Chinatown, and then we go get rice cake noodles at this place called Shanghai, and then we get very, very drunk at this bar called Nancy Whiskey. And you've actually been with us before, and you know that, and it was a setup. It's the funnest Valentine's Day. It's an absolute massacre. We call it the Valentine's Day Massacre. And it's a delight, and friends come along, and it's a great tradition. And even I've been on dates on Valentine's Day where I'm like, this has been great, but I have to go now.
Oh my God. Is Valentine's Day the anniversary of that time we didn't have to pay that bill?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going into detail because no one cares. It's not that interesting. Yeah. Let's just say we racked up a huge bill one night and we didn't have to pay for it. We never would skip out on a bill. Don't ever skip out
on a bill. It was paid for. It just wasn't paid for.
It was taken for. And for days, we would just randomly call or text each other being like, just whatever's happening in your life, just remember, we didn't have to pay that bill.
Yeah,
it would have destroyed me. Whatever we did the next day, I could not have afforded to do.
I was literally going to be like, Hunter, don't bring up that thing with the bill, though, okay? Just leave it there.
But at the point being, we had wonderful, and you said it was a setup. What was it a setup for?
No, like I feel like you brought it up so I could talk about that, so then you could bring up the bill. I realized I was walking.
Oh, I swear I didn't even remember that until just then.
Okay, good. Yeah, cool.
Okay. Well, anyway, our 8 viewers are sure going to be
get nervous.
Determined. What do you think? Have you gone on any COVID dates or Zoom dates or anything like that?
When I came home, I matched with like 1 million people on what's it called? Hinge. I was like, I want to go home with like a stack of matches. I didn't hear the song obviously, but I was like, cool. So I stacked up all these people and I was like chatting with them for a few weeks, and then I was like, I don't even want to keep up with the people in my life this way, who I like already love. I can't sit here and make small talk with like 50 cute strangers.
It's hard, and also it gets kind of sad because you're like, other than a socially distant walk, maybe in the summer, I can't see you. Like,
yeah, I have a lot of friends who stayed in New York. They all have been like kind of like socially distant dating or whatever, and it's fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's mostly weird, and that's going to be the really hard thing. Is like, I don't know how to talk to you anymore. You know, like I don't know how to talk on camera. I don't know how to talk to you. Getting out there and trying to like date again after not talking to people for a year is going to be very embarrassing at points. I'm absolutely certain.
So I have a very sad realization, but because I got a Facebook reminder that me and Liz were in Australia at the Fringe Festival this time, which means I think we left around the 7th or the 8th of February. We flew out, which means I have not physically hugged you, touched your body in over a year. Well,
it's a good thing we both hate being touched.
I was going to say, it's not like we were doing all this touching beforehand.
No.
I miss it. I mean, I am the least like touchy-feely friend kind of person, and even I'll admit, like I miss the ability just to give my friend a hug.
It's a nice button on a conversation when you're with somebody. Like, all right, see you later, and then you like hug and you leave. Now, like I'm like a big Lebanese goodbye person. I'll say goodbye a million times and never leave. Yeah. Now it's not like the physical button of being like, see ya. I say goodbye.
It's not a button because if we're being honest with each other, it's not like you and I hugged at the end of every conversation.
No, I don't like. We don't like to be touched.
No, but I'm saying, you know, if I came and saw you after a show or like,
we'll do it.
Like a really big, like if there was an emotional moment, or like, I mean, there's been moments that we each could have used one. Like,
oh yeah, I'd say.
it just, yeah, it's not even so much that I'm craving that. It's just so bizarre that it's against human nature that like when the moment arises that I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Like that's not, that doesn't, not that we've been in proximity even that much, but no, it's just so bizarre. I'd be curious if anyone's watching this, if you comment, how have you been socially distant dating? Have you been finding, we have a comment from Daisy. That's everything, okay. So no, Daisy's answer was, no, Daisy, if your comment didn't go through, please try again and we'll definitely respond to it.
Don't worry, these are fun.
I just think that was really funny that it was like, what is she? I thought I just wasn't seeing it, and then it's like, nope, nothing. But hello. Yeah, it's a strange year.
Yeah, whatever.
What?
But I put up this romantic background. Isn't this enough?
Look at the material. It's just such a, yeah. It's almost too sexy, is what it is.
I know. I should have considered that. This is only Facebook.
It's Valentine's Day, and anyone who's watching this is clearly not doing anything else on Valentine's Day. So
God, I hope no one's watching this. I'm just kidding. I hope you're all watching this.
No, we usually, I'll just be honest, we usually get about 200 to 300 views, like in the initial.
You don't have to explain yourself to me. I know what this show does.
No, it's not a ton, but it's actually been building up slowly but surely.
I'm genuinely telling you. I know you get like good numbers throughout the week.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, though. And anyone who's watching this, if you have advice or things you'd like to see, because we do have like a core audience, what do you think things we could be doing differently or trying different things to build up? I want to get the numbers up a little bit higher, though, in the first 24 hours. So as someone who's hosted it before, do you have any advice or things or ideas that you've had?
Random acts of violence, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Snuff. Just turn it into a snuff film.
Yeah, maybe that. More nudity. People want what they want. People are base, and I think we need to respect that by really lowering the bar here. Very.
I think we've done too good a job, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, for one to have more nudity, there would have to have been any. So
again, let's get it going.
Get it started. No. The soundtrack to Les Mis just starts playing in the distance somewhere. For no reason. Love is love, Simone. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything. I mean, we have a lot of topics. Okay, let's start talking about. Well, I want to hold off on. We have a couple topics that we had in mind. I want to hold off on one for a second. So in addition to Scranton Fringe, you are actively involved in the Scranton Shakespeare Festival. In 2019, you directed the immersive production of Cabaret at Adam Jenny Speakeasy, which was so good. And I'm not just saying that; it was so good. And I mean, as all the work that Shakespeare does. And there's a cool thing called Scratch Night coming up that Scranton Shakes is doing. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
I would love to. So this season is the 10th season, and we are going to be doing Hamlet, Midsummer Night's Dream. We're going to be doing, Into the Woods, and we're going to be doing Ragtime. And those are going to be our 4 big main stage shows.
What's the 4th one you said?
Ragtime.
Rent?
Ragtime.
Ragtime. I thought you were saying Rent. Sorry, Ragtime. Oh my God, that's awesome. Very cool.
And it's going to be exciting and wonderful. But our 5th show, we don't know yet. And that is what Scratch Night is for. Oh my God, I hope I didn't just say that too soon. Whatever. It was on the video. It was on our fundraising video. And anyway, but our 5th show, we don't know what it is yet. So we're going to be having a Scratch Night. And what a Scratch Night is very cool. That is, it's like something that's kind of gaining popularity in the UK. Mm-hmm. And you kind of submit like segments of plays. And then like they're performed, like a scene is performed. And then like a panel of judges decides like, oh, this play wins. So that's what we're doing to decide what the 5th show is. And we're going to develop this like new work. And it's going to be very cool and exciting. And actually our host of Scratch Night, this is really cool, is SNL's Heidi Gardner.
I saw that. That's so cool.
Isn't that cool? And she's like the funniest person on SNL right now, in my humble opinion.
She is super funny. I
know. That's enough. That's enough. Like, even if you don't like theater, just tune in and see Heidi Gardner be freaking hilarious.
And how can people get tickets, Simone?
Go to the website, Connor. I didn't dig that hard. I started to. Give me 1 second. But I'm telling you what, if there's a question, you can always go to scrantonshakes.com and you can get tickets there. I'm on the website now. You cannot fill this dead air.
It's scrantonshakes.com.
And it says tickets, and they're right there. So just go.
It's right. It was just on the screen. Where did it go? It's just on the screen.
That's a scrolling thing.
Scrolling, there it is. There we go.
Yeah.
Scratch Night hosted by SNL's Heidi Gardner. That's so cool.
There it is.
March 4th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and you just click right here to get tickets. I'll be getting my ticket. That's so exciting. Very cool. Yeah. Michael just commented, your tech is amazing. Well, it has to, Michael. It has to make up for our ability to retain information. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Love you too. Michael Flynn, Executive Director of Scranton Shakespeare Festival, as my counterpart to the other Scranton Theater Festival. He and I enter a fight club once a year, and that's probably the number one. That was my Valentine's Day tradition that I've now lost. Because we get dinner afterwards, very friendly. It's just, it's tradition. I don't know, man. It's Scranton.
Not what I was asking. I'll tell you an embarrassing story. No, I won't. It was embarrassing. Never mind. Move on.
Okay. I will tell. Speaking of embarrassing stories, I actually did want to say one. This isn't a Valentine's Day story. It happened around the Christmas holidays, but it is one of the most. Okay, I have two horrible dating-related stories. One took place in Scranton, and one took place in New York. Which one do you want to hear?
I feel like there'll be less casualties in New York. It's Valentine's Day banter. I'm glad it's working for somebody. Wait, is it more embarrassing for people here? Well, which one will be the least damaging?
Neither will affect anyone except me. I'm going to tell the Scranton one because it has more. The New York one has like a sadder ending for me. The Scranton one has more of a.
No, tell the Scranton one.
Okay, so I was. Okay, so when I was 18 years old, I went to a keg party in the woods out by Dunmore. And it was a Halloween party, and I was not. This is a true story, everyone. And I am going to change some details to protect certain people, but no way, you never know. And if anyone knows, I was raised in a faith that didn't really celebrate Halloween, so it was technically, I think, my first Halloween. And I dressed up as, and I'm gonna. Oh my God, I can pull up an image. I dressed up as a character from a British comedy that aired on WVIA after school because I thought that reference would be known. And I dressed up as a character called Mr. Humphreys from Are You Being Served? Hold on. For those who don't know the reference, here you go. And I had I had a suit, I had a pinstripe suit, and I had the measuring tape, and I had a white wig that I stole from the Scranton High. Because I was a senior in high school, because my birthday was late in the summer, so I was already 18, and I had a little white wig and the whole 9 yards. I go to this party, and this person who technically went to school in the Poconos, but grew up around here, and I went to middle school with, who knew me, this big hulking football player. I mean, think the size of the wall behind me, this huge dude. I'm not going to use the exact I'm not going to use the exact language, but you can infer. So he asked who, I'm drinking my red Solo cup, bump into Rihanna with there's nothing in it. It's just water. And I was no one knew who I was. Either no one knew who I was, or they were absolutely certain that I was Tim Gunn from Project Runway. So,
I would have forgotten that. Your costume. That's.
So here's the deal. So here's what happened. So I'm dancing to my Rihanna cup. He comes over and he knew me and he was kind of buzzed and he said, "Who are you supposed to be?" And I excitedly explained. And then he said, "Well, if you don't want people to know you're a word that begins with an F that we're not going to use on the show, then why would you dress like a word that begins with an F? The British word for cigarette. How about that?"
Uh-huh.
And I was cue Charlie. I wasn't offended because God knows that's not the first time I heard that word. I was just so deflated. It was my night out. It was my experiment. So cue the Charlie Brown music, and I walked home from Dunmore to the hillside through to the almost the Harrison Avenue Bridge for those who know Scranton. Flash forward several years later. I'm inside the bog the night before Thanksgiving. Who comes over but Jason, the big football player guy from North Pocono? Just used his name. So, what?
Nothing. Carry on.
Went to North Pocono. You're never gonna know. You're never gonna know who this is. No one's ever gonna know. That's also not even his real name. It doesn't matter. So he comes over and he has to buy me a drink, and I'm like, sure, whatever. And that wasn't even the last time I had seen him. And he apologizes. He cites details about that night that I only remember because he cited that story. And it was really lovely, and I thought it was very touching. And there was a Facebook event for that night out. So I mean, this was maybe 5 years ago. So 5 years after we graduated high school or whatever. So he knew I was going to be there. It must have struck a chord, and he apologized and said blah blah blah. I was super touched. So I'm like, no hard feelings. We were stupid kids. It wasn't okay, but I appreciate that, and I hope you're doing well. The next day, he friend requests me on Facebook. That night, he shoots me a message and asks me if he can take me out to dinner sometime that week while we're still in town. And I thought about it for a while, and he did not mention that part of his journey when we talked. And I said no politely, and I said no because I was living off and on at the time, trying to move to New York. And I could just tell we want different things. And
let's stop right there real quick and just give a quick public service announcement about this story that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody that you went to high school with apologizes to you for something they did in high school at the bog, they're trying to fuck, and you're going to find out in the next day when they DM you.
I didn't know.
From high school at the bog, they're trying to fuck, and you're going to get a message.
I didn't know that. So Simone's absolutely right. But remember, this was Conor still 24, 25. I did not know. So I said no super politely. I'd love to be friends. Let's keep in touch. I'm so glad that you're blah, 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 blah. I also was the schedules didn't line. I'm just not interested. And he said, well, fuck you, bitch, and then deleted me off Facebook. And that is the story that sometimes people can change, and sometimes they will, but they don't really. So that's... when I told that at the Edinburgh Fringe, the Big Gay Story Slam, when we brought it there, because of the Mr. Humphries British reference, it killed. Not every night, but most nights.
They love Mr. Humphries over there.
They just there was a drag queen that was hosting one night for us, and it was the first night, because I sometimes had to fill in often, and it's a different crowd, so I could tell one or two of the same stories almost every night. And the first night she heard that, she was pissing herself on the side of the stage. The second she heard that.
Okay, wait. Can we do our really in-depth conversation, because we started to do it?
Okay, so
conversation, and we need to do it now because I feel like we need to have a fight about this because I have a lot of feelings.
Okay, Simone, I have a question for you. What do you consider the best rom-com of all time?
Best rom-com of all time, I said,
Excellent.
was if we are counting Moonstruck as a rom-com, it's Moonstruck, and if we are not, it's Notting Hill.
Okay, I disagree. Both very good movies. I'm not denying their worth as movies. I disagree with both. That's
so wrong. Why? How?
I'm not even saying that. I don't consider Moonstruck and Notting Hill to be they're both wonderful movies. I just don't see them as the best rom-com. Comment if anyone disagrees.
Okay. You can come for me on Moonstruck and say Moonstruck is just a comedy or just a romance movie, or it's a lot of things. It's an opera. It's a lot of things. You don't want to put Moonstruck in the rom-com category. That's fine. But that's an
agreement. If I'm putting it in the rom-com category, I'm not okay with saying it's one of the best rom-coms.
It is. But here is the best. Here's my case. See, thank you, Camille. Yes, it is. I lost my hand. I lost
my hand. Yeah, I know.
Movie. Notting Hill.
Make your case. Make your case on this topic.
For Notting Hill?
For either one of them. I love to see you make a case.
Of rom-com powers? Notting Hill has Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant, the two biggest, most important stars in the rom-com galaxy. They are the rom-com stars, okay? And then you have the best meet cute. He spills the orange juice on her in front of the bookstore after he sells her the book, and the guy is trying to steal the book, and it's very freaking cute. So then the best love story. There's so many great sequences in that movie. Like the Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone bit where he's walking through the market and the seasons change, and then the lady's pregnant in the beginning and then she has a baby at the end of it. And the sister goes through that whole relationship and breakup in just one beautiful sequence. And then the end is there's so many great rom-com lines. I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. Classic rom-com. Her looks are all iconic. I know I'm all over the place because this movie is effing perfect. His friends are so cool and they have lovely dinner parties.
Okay.
The friend group is very important in a rom-com.
They are. Okay, I'm going to argue the counterpoint. I mean, I know this is going to flare up. I know people are going to disagree with me. I stand by that You Got Mail is one of the best top 10 films of the 1990s.
It does not hold up.
What?
Anyway, You've Got Mail does not hold up in any way. I have seen You've Got Mail as much as anyone has seen any movie in history. I've seen You've Got Mail a million times. I loved it more than anything, but he is gaslighting her, and that movie is...
Yes. Okay, here's the deal. I can acknowledge that he is completely emotionally and mentally manipulating that woman, Kathleen Kelly.
He puts her out of business and makes her think she's crazy. It's really fucked up.
But it's just so, but it's Nora Ephron, and it's so beautiful. I mean, would you?
She's a little bit racist. Do you ever read her book? Any of her books?
No.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I've never read it. Okay, I will put a pause on Nora Ephron until what's her book?
Heartbreak, I think it was called. Heartburn, the one about her divorce. I don't know. It's weird. She's just a little bit weird sometimes. I'm not saying like Nora Ephron. I'm just saying like she has funny ideas about like the right way to treat people and like, the right way to describe people in literature. I don't know. It's weird.
Like she's too like narrow in her.
No, she's very specific and weird.
Okay.
So, only mentions the ethnicity of some people, and it's always a joke. You know what I mean? Shut that.
I haven't read the book, so I can't speak to that. But okay. Well, I think it's interesting that I think that you and I are clearly never going to come to complete eye to eye on this. I just don't love Notting Hill. I just don't. It's a cute movie. It's adorable. I just find him, and I like him in other things. I just find him so insufferable in that part.
Oh my God, that's the cutest he ever is to me. The most I ever loved Hugh Grant is in that movie.
See, I like older Hugh Grant. Younger Hugh Grant, I don't know what it is. He's handsome and he's a good actor. Like I couldn't have handled that part. Like I'm acknowledging he's great. My apartment has a beautiful Notting Hill blue door to it.
I know every time I see blue door, I freak out because because it just makes me think of Notting Hill. And I get to stand there for a minute while I wait for somebody to answer that door and think about Notting Hill. And for that, I'm grateful.
You were grateful for what?
Somebody have a blue door, because then when I stand there and wait for somebody to answer it, I get to think about Notting Hill for 2 minutes.
And does that give you joy or pleasure of some kind?
Delightful. I'm delighted because Notting Hill is delightful.
See, I disagree.
Well, that's fine. We don't have to agree about everything, you know?
I would put 10 Things I Hate About You as a better rom-com above that movie.
No, and also, okay, so then here's the other question now. And
here's the deal for you, Simone. Since I knew you and I were never going to come to agreement on this, I brought in a tiebreaker.
No, you didn't.
Please welcome to the virtual stage, Maggie O'Brien.
Hi!
Hello.
Hi, Maggie.
You are rocking that hair, aren't you?
Yes, I figured. So I have, yes, you like it? So I got this new sweater. Oh, wait, I got this new sweater, which I feel is a very like Moira Rose kind of sweater.
Yeah. The Moira Rose wig as well. It's perfect.
And Moira is a woman to rock a wig. Ooh.
What's this wig's name?
Anyway, so what's the debate here?
He thinks Notting Hill is not great, and he thinks that You've Got Mail is the greatest rom-com of all time, whereas it's...
I'm not saying, okay, I will fully acknowledge it might not be the greatest, because I mean, give me something else. And
what's the greatest rom-com of all time? And you said it's Notting Hill, and then you fought me on it. You're saying it. Sure. You're just going back on it, and if you're going back on it, then you admit it. Like
I'm saying it's better. I'm saying You Got Mail is better than Notting Hill. I'm not saying You Got Mail. I argue that it's the top position may change depending on my mood, but I would always say that it's above Notting Hill. So Maggie, you brought me on here to be an tiebreaker.
In the spirit true of our friendships, I am here to offer a counter argument. I think you're both wrong.
Okay.
All right. Well, nice having you on the show.
My personal choice in the greatest rom-com is Never Been Kissed.
Okay. I got a problem with this movie too now.
I was going to say, I know what you're going to say.
The fashion is perfect. Every look is iconic. Every single one. It's very, very funny. Drew Barrymore is very cute in that movie. The supporting cast is absolutely effing hilarious. And the love interest is Michael Vaughn from Alias. So for that, obviously, I stand for the rest of my...
However,
so cute. But he is a teacher, and he does have an attraction to his student. And while he never actually acts on it,
he didn't act on it.
The romance of the film is it's a teacher and a student falling in love with each other, and it's not great.
You're not wrong, but honest question. I mean, honest question. Do we forego any enjoyment of media and content that we have now come to look back on and realize might not?
No, but I think it has to hold up. Like John Hughes movies.
I think that that's excessive. I don't think that it's, he didn't act on it. He wasn't clear on what his feelings were. He just knew that he was developing feelings for her. He's she was giving off the vibes too.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, she was falling for him as well, but neither one of them acted on it. I mean, in the context of Hollywood films, I mean, the amount of age inappropriateness that has happened.
That's the last example. I mean, there's a million of them.
That is not a solid argument against.
He could be 21.
I think he wasn't he? Like he was in his mid-20s. They were the same age, right? They're both. Isn't she 25?
25, but like.
I understand. No, Simone, I don't disagree with you. I watched it when we were not too recently, and I realized I'm like, ooh, I haven't watched this in a long time. However, I don't want to go into specifics because I don't want this to turn into a thing. There are more recent movies that romanticize that dynamic in a way that made me far more uncomfortable than Never Been Kissed, which I stand by is a really lovely movie.
No, I'm with you though, Maggie. Never Been Kissed is charming. It's absolutely charming.
I would think it'd be interesting to do a re-edit, assuming the audience doesn't, he's the main character and the audience doesn't know from her perspective.
I do stand by Simone's comments about whatever, what's that, Sleepless in Seattle. No, that's not what we're talking about. You Got Me Out.
You Got Me Out.
Because that is, yes, he destroys her business. He gaslights her. I mean, that's a really long time. Talk about inappropriate. I mean, he grew the entire time through that entire relationship.
He dismantles her entire life and then like counsels her through it on the other side.
That's true.
Really fucking weird.
Yeah, you're right.
Camille commented that she was a sucker for Bridget Jones' Diary personally. And also we got a compliment on Maggie's wig from Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
Bridget Jones.
And Camille, I agree. Bridget Jones is great. I read all those books. I loved her.
Yeah, I could have Bridget. Like, couldn't we all agree on Bridget?
It doesn't hold any. It doesn't hold any. Like heavy weight with me. But
every movie we've listed so far, I can like completely visualize scenes from it. I don't. And that might be because of all of them so far. This is the one I've seen the least. I don't have like a vivid.
I think rom-coms are a very personal kind of preference. I think that as you have to, it's what you relate to.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure if we were to, truly evaluate and go back over time, I mean, like Spencer Tracy, were like, the rom-com, they were the Hanks and Ryan of, their generation. So, you could go.
Well, you take, for example, the movie Desk Set with Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, written by Nora Ephron's parents.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the FDF. They like, it's really interesting. If you read the parents, her sisters, their work, all like think of the Nora Ephron kind of dialogue and then think of Desk Set. It is so similar.
Have you seen Desk Set, Simone?
No.
Oh, it's so charming. It's so great.
I always love the movies you guys tell me to watch.
The screenplay was written by, Phoebe and Henry Ephron.
Oh, the costumes are gorgeous. It's girls working in it. They're working in an office.
Oh, this sounds very Barbie game. I'm very interested.
Here,
it's beautiful. You'll love it.
They work in like the information office before a computer is like coming in to replace them, basically.
Oh, it's very cute. I like it. I like the look of this. Let's see. Very cute. Very cute. Yep.
I love that.
Oh, I love that.
Have you, Simone, I also recommended Simone to watch Pajama Game.
I haven't watched it, Maggie. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to pause. I haven't seen that one in years, so I can't speak to any.
Like rom-coms, anything. Doris Day. She's like rom-com.
Maggie, something you said before, though, I think is an interesting point, right? When we're talking about rom-coms, that they are light, and for the most sense, they are lighthearted explorations into romance, which I mean, into, you know, surface level sex. Those are fantasies. Those might, you know, that border, you know, very rarely do. But I mean, we can probably all agree that the relationship presented in such modern narratives, which are not romantic comedies, but like, you know, 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight, its original source material, are not exactly healthy examples of a relationship. But for some reason, it does speak to people in kind of a private, you know, personal way. Not me personally, but so I mean, that might be, you know, we might be facing, not only from a social problematic perspective, but when we're talking about romantic comedies, it's really hard to navigate that kind of conversation, right?
Yeah, and you know what I think is even weirder than that now? Like, I feel like, not that they're comedies, but I feel like all romances, Daisy agrees with all of it.
Thanks, Daisy.
All like romances now, like someone is dying. Like every romantic movie for teenagers, like one or two are like dying in it, and I'm like,
because
why?
The Fault in Our Stars was such a success.
Yeah. I don't. It's just like kind of a bummer to me.
I mean, that's just Romeo and Juliet, right?
Yeah, over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Why is this like what the like? Why is this aspirational? Why is like dying young like the pinnacle of love? Like that's not great. That's, I don't know. I think we can do better for the.
Is there? Let me ask you this question: What you know? Since we're talking about fictional representations and, you know, movies and TV shows, what do you think is a recent or any example of a really truly healthy representation of a relationship romantically?
I wouldn't say something. A movie that just came to mind as Can't Hardly Wait, which I love.
Okay.
Now that as in regards to that dynamic, you know, the movie is a rom-com in the sense. I mean, it's very high school. You know, it's a high school genre, but you know, the romance happens separately, right? Because they don't get together till the end. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, he pursues his goals and she goes and pursues hers. So the experience, like the romantic experience, helps them grow and develop as people, but then they go on to have like individual life experience. You know, I mean, you know, and we're led to believe that, you know, once they've become fully formed, you know, that they will maintain this friendship, but that, you know, and that, you know, there's a potential for romance. But they never, you know, it's not about making personal sacrifice for the sake of a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's super funny and the music is great and it's just an all around hilarious.
Yeah. That's a good example. Yeah.
Just to give people some real world reference, that was Can't Hardly Wait was directed by Deborah Kaplan, who also directed the 2001 Josie and the Pussycats.
Way funnier movie than people think it is.
Really good movie. Really good movie. Also, Maggie, you might be excited to hear that in May 2019, Jennifer Love Hewitt revealed that she is developing Can't Hardly Wait 2.
When? What? JLH?
In JLH in May of 2019. So to be fair, it was probably right in the middle of development when COVID began. The concept revolved around the reunion.
They're ripping off our high school. They're going to rip off High School Reunion.
The concept revolves around the reunion of the original high school gang from the 1998 film.
Spoiled again.
Always. That's how I know I'm good. You know, all my ideas are taken. So a lot of good ideas, very bad.
You and JLH, you're like on the same wavelength.
Maggie, since you are joining our conversation kind of halfway through, we're going to circle back real quick. How has the dating scene been in COVID?
Not great, Bob. Digest. Yeah, not great. I have gone on, I've gone on a couple COVID dates. Mm-hmm. Only first dates. Over the summer, it was a lot of like walks and hikes. I've done some coffee dates since then. I find this is not a time energetically to be building or like trying to form a relationship. But I would love to know and hear of someone that's had success in that. That'd be great. I don't, you know, and I was eavesdropping on the show earlier, and I agreed with Simone. You know, like I'm struggling to maintain my relationships and communicate with the people that are, you know, in my inner circle, and like keep in touch with my real friends, the ones that I've had for ages. So trying to develop a relationship with someone that I don't, a stranger, in another two-dimensional format, right? Because that's just exhausting. All of our relationships are two-dimensional, and you know, and I've recognized, I mean, you know, in conversations I've had with friends, I've reflected on even the context of the conversations that we have, right? Because, you know, you and I have a wide group of friends, and, you know, anytime in normal cases when you're trying to keep up with your friends, you know, your conversations would be centered around what have you been up to, what are you doing, and what's coming up for you.
Yeah.
Right. And then, like, you know, like catching up in those three areas, and, you know, it's like doom spiraling, you know, manic panicking, and like dread. So those aren't exactly the tenets of, you know, building a romantic relationship. So it's just been exhausting. Plus, you know, I mean, you're trying to meet people digitally. In my experience, you know, men are not great communicators in many cases in digital communication, like online apps. Like, I have to carry the conversations, you know, in most cases anyway. And I've stopped doing that. And surprise, I'm not talking to anybody anymore. Right? Because there's just no engagement. You know, and I mean, it's Simone and I talk about this a lot. You know, I think women in general going forward are going to be, our tolerance for the emotional labor that we're willing to carry is going to be shocking to the dating community, and just community in general. The general patriarchy is going to discover that women have lost a lot of patience throughout this experience and learned that we don't need it.
No,
you have your wigs.
We have wigs now, exactly. There was a period of time early on that I felt, you know, that cuffing season pressure, that you wanted to have someone, you know, I wanted to have somebody, you know, find somebody, get them in your pod, and then you'd have, you know, comfort during this time. And it's definitely been challenging. But now that, you know, there's hope on the horizon, and we're seeing more vaccine distribution, and, you know, there's, I know that we won't be able to return entirely to normal by the summer, but I think it's safe to say, you know, that it's going to be safe to, you know, date and gather in, you know, medium-sized groups.
I'd say small-sized groups.
With that possibility, the last thing I want now is I don't want a relationship. I don't want to be committed right now. Nope. It's about to be like.
I have a long list of very exciting adventures that I need to go on immediately.
Dating is not one of them.
Worrying about somebody else's insecurities is like not actually one of the items on that list.
I think that it's,
or limiting myself, or being limited to a, you know, in a commitment with a partner.
But I think it speaks to the, you know, the core, you know, statement, right? That anyone is not a substitution for someone.
Yeah, well said. Yes.
You know, if that person, it's not that you're, it's right. It's not like being against it. It's just like, that's not a goal. My value is not attached to that.
I hope more people throughout this experience have learned that for themselves and feel good about that. You know.
I'd love to hear from anyone who's watching right now that you know, either you're single or are in a relationship. We're in a relationship. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's fine. But I'd love to hear what's it been like because we've been all joking about, you know, being single under quarantine, but I mean, there has to be blessings and challenges, right, of being in a relationship right now.
Sure.
That, I give a lot of credit to the people who are doing this long distance. I give, in some ways, even more credit to we all know people that are, I know people that just moved in together in February of last year. Like they'd been dating for about 6 months to a year. They lived in New York. They wanted to save on rent.
Together right before quarantine hit, and I said my brother and his girlfriend got together, like moved in together immediately before quarantine hit.
Oh yeah.
Among like sitting amongst the boxes for a month, like in their apartment, and they're like, oh, and they're great. They're really happy, you know. And I think for some people, it's like definitely done that. Like another friend of mine met somebody during quarantine, fell madly, madly, madly in love, just moved in with him. Like they're super, super happy, super serious. Like there are people who are finding people, and this is like cooking the relationship in like a much like fat. It's like a high heat, so it like boils really quickly, and it's like a very like real lived-in established relationship, and they're super happy, and I'm happy for them. But I think it like, I don't know. I think it's made people who want relationships more like ready and open to like have a relationship, and people who are okay being single, like way more okay with being single. Like I think whatever direction like you tilted in as a person, I think this maybe pushed you further in that direction, which is cool. Because just do whatever you want.
Did you guys happen to see the Did you guys happen to see the that comedian Daniel Sloss? Daniel Sloss is a comedian. I think he's from Wales, and he had a series of Netflix specials. He has an episode called Jigsaw, and he has an entire, rant, dialogue, discussion that he has on dating and relationships, and how, he like calls out the audience on how many of them are actually in the wrong relationships for the relationships for the wrong reason, and like just the unhealthiness of unhealthy relationships and how it can like really screw up your life. The statistics since his I don't know if he did a study or if there was an independent study done, but there's a statistic that over 7,000 couples have broken up after watching. And like he even instigates it in his set, like in the presentation of the story. He's like, I hope you all go home and have a conversation about this, because at this Daniel Sloss, Sloss, the episode is called Jigsaw. It's intense, it's harsh, but he's right. He's right.
I've seen this man's face on 1,000 buses at the Edinburgh Fringe last year. His face was everywhere.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Just that he believes like 90% of people are in the wrong relationships. He bases it all on this story his dad told him when he was a kid. He's got it's a really interesting theory. He's got a little. And this is on Netflix. It's got like a George Carlin kind of quality. I haven't watched any of his other stand-up, so I can't really speak to what his perspective is on anything else. But this particular banter on relationships was really powerful, and it really empowers being single, and how like being single is not being single is normal. That is the healthy normal reality, and that by forcing ourselves, that our society has created this romantic notion of relationships, and like over glamorized, that they're easy to find, and that they're easy to have, and that they come naturally, and that this is like a reasonable expectation in life. It's like a huge disservice to society. And that we would all be much better people if we just individually learn to love ourselves and be happy with the person that we are, and not try to wrap our identities up in being part of a twosome, which statistically is impossible and really challenging. So don't do it.
Love that. Finally.
All right then. Well,
these I've been waiting for. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. No.
I feel like everyone who watched this went and broke up.
Well, this is Fringe. Well, I mean, it's Fringe Valentines, so it has to be. Yeah. I mean, love is wonderful. Love is beautiful. Romance is great. I'm happy when people are happy.
Let me ask you both
couples in love out there.
Let me ask you both a question real quick. Because I have a lot of friends that have had very successful relationships with polyamorous. relationships, more than two people, not in a judgmental way, but just asking for yourself, because monogamy is not for everyone. Polyamory is not for anyone. There's a lot of people that are, nothing is for them. Do you think you could ever exist in a polyamorous relationship, or do you think that's not something for you?
Yes, quite easily.
Simone, you're saying
I'd be willing to try. I'm open to the concept.
Yeah.
It does seem to, I would much rather be, have it happen organically. This concept of like already established individuals, like on, online dating, they're married, but they're in an open poly relationship, and now they're
appeal to me.
That doesn't appeal to me. I'm not interested in being,
Okay.
Being a third wheel of some sort.
Well, I think
I'm not opposed to necessarily, if a man isn't, if someone's in an open relationship and they want to date, he wants to court me, like I'll go out on dates with him. I will date, but I don't know that I would be in a relationship with someone who has another relationship.
That's not sustainable long term, because more often than not, you're going to find that one of those people doesn't really want that.
I have found people that have made that work, though. I have seen people. I think we have to be very clear, though. There's a difference between a polyamorous relationship and an open relationship. Those are two very different.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are two very different things.
Okay.
And as long as everyone's on the same page and it's adults and consensual and safe and all that stuff, that's a lot of, sometimes that might be romantic. A lot of times it is just an open in terms of sex and intimacy. But I mean, I think how we define a relationship has become so much. Well, it's not that it's become much more broader. We're willing to talk about how much more broad it can be. And how
Can I make a confession? A confession? And I'm not proud of this, but when I see men on dating apps that are in open marriages,
yeah,
I have this sort of prejudice where I assume that they're bad in bed.
Okay.
Because I question.
I'm confused by this, but I'd like to hear your reasoning.
Because his partner doesn't want to continue having sex?
No, well, that he I don't want to say that he's bad in bed, but that that I have this just.
It's okay. Yeah.
Feeling that his wife or his girlfriend is unsatisfied.
Or maybe they just want more. Okay.
Well, I'm not. This wouldn't be this is on a case by case basis. I mean, I'm using other red flags as well as a indicator when I'm assessing the profile. But
I respect you for being honest, and that's.
No, it's a very interesting thought. I never really thought about it that way, but now I'm like going to a little bit.
I don't see it that way. Maybe it's different in gay commuting circles. I don't see it that way personally, but.
Have you ever read A Little Life? Has anyone ever read that book? Okay, I know you have, Connor. Maggie, it's tragedy porn. It is. But there are so many like really beautiful like thoughts and sentiments in that book that have like changed my life in a lot of ways. And one of the
saddest thing you will ever read.
Literally the saddest book in the world. It's like really upsetting. But they talk about this idea where like your partner is only going to give you like 2 out of 5 things that you want in life. And you gotta have to pick like what the most important thing that you want from your partner is. Is it conversation? Is it loyalty? Is it beauty? Is it like one that they said that was really interesting was like aesthetic principles or whatever, but maybe like one of the things that you find with your partner is not sex. Maybe they don't fulfill you sexually, but like they fulfill you in 3 like more and wait for you. So you go outside of the relationship to have sex because it's not a major tenet of your relationship with your partner. And I think a lot of times in marriages, it's like, I want to be with you, but I also want other things sexually.
I get that. Yeah.
Almost like maybe a little more like, I would assume that they would be better.
Let's just say it begs the question.
Interesting. Okay.
For me. But again, I mean, I'm a straight white woman who dates guys that look like Wookiees. So
That's That's fair. That's fair.
I look like Chewbacca. So
yeah.
And here it's fine.
Well, we're all, so outside of love and relationships, and probably more importantly, we're all creatives and theater artists. What kind of, I just want to, we only have a few minutes left. I want to shift gears a little bit. What kind of work do you want, whenever the time comes, whether it's this summer, next summer, whenever, what kind of work are you excited to return to, and what kind of work do you have no interest in ever going back to? The kind of stories you want to tell, the ways you want to tell them, the strategies, approaches, anything. Like super open to interpretation.
I'll let you want me? I mean, I would say I wouldn't probably put the dramas in the box leave those in the shelves for a while.
Okay.
I think that our community and theater patrons as a whole are going to be really thirsty for entertainment, comedy, laughs, spectacle. Sure, I think heartfelt moments will be welcome, but by and large, I think they're just going to want to laugh and put on a little singing and dancing.
Okay.
To be entertained.
Yeah, I agree. And that can take many shapes, but I agree with you. Simone, what were you going to say?
I don't think like I'll be able to like take an audience for granted again.
Yes.
So like just really respecting their time. Really I really just want to like respect people's time and investment in my work. I just want to work really hard to respect that moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them, not about me. Yeah, that's kind of it. Like I'll do anything. Anyone hears of anything, let me know. I'll do it. But like, I will do it like with the audience first and foremost in my mind.
I want to do a children's show. I can't wait to play in front of kids because I mean, they're gonna give the most genuine, appreciation, and we're gonna get to see it, hear it, feel it, experience it.
There's so much fun. Oh my God.
To have like the joy and laughter of kids, I think is something that's been missing from a lot of our lives. So from an
I miss hanging out. I want to hang out with kids. Like I'm really glad I don't have any kids right now, but like I would like for somebody to lend me a kid.
Okay. Comment below, everybody.
Well, I'm sure that's going to be, people are going to be just looking for opportunities to
come over. I'll play with your kid.
Yeah.
It's so much.
They're so funny. They're just funnier. They're just funnier than grown people. And I would just like to get a couple laughs in, play some funny like imagination game or something, and then be like, all right, that was great. Go home.
Right.
That'd be great.
I'm going to be so grateful to perform, and period. I'm going to be so grateful to perform and put on work inside in small spaces again. Like, not only not taking any audience for granted, and not like I've ever been that much of a snob, but like it's so funny that now the idea of because the first step of going back to inside theater in an actual theater is going to have to be like the biggest space you can find, right? Because it's going to be a slow return with capacity. Like the time we can go back to like hole in the wall little black boxes and stuff, like I am never going to not take that. I hope I'll remember this to never not take that for granted again, because like any kind of theater is wonderful, outdoor, I can't wait, but like that kind of intimacy is going to be so exciting. I will say
intimate. It's going to be really intimate.
Real intimate. I will say I am very excited and grateful for the resources that we've learned, like doing shows like this and these kind of technology. I will say, as much as I can't wait to be all back together again, like production meetings, initial rehearsals, pickup rehearsals, I am so okay with keeping those virtual not whenever, but as needed.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think everybody needs to be like around each other all the time anymore. Which is like I'm like, let's get back together. But I'm also like, if you don't need me there, I'm not going to like come to you. Let's just do this. This looks fine.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying, Simone, about respecting time and respecting people's time. Like, I'll come to any meeting you want me to, but don't make me jump on the train or jump on a bus or walk or get in a car and come meet you if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll be more efficient as a result.
Yes. Yes.
But less rushed and more efficient.
If we want to be together because we're getting things up on its feet and we miss each other's company and energy and we want an hour to just shoot the shit and socialize, that sounds lovely. I can't wait for that. But it'll be a conscious choice. Like, what does today need to be? Today needs to be an in-person day. Great. Now we can sit back and go, because how many times have there been rehearsals where, and by the way, you could attribute this to any kind of meeting or gathering in any workspace, any industry, but especially in the theater arts where we have to get together because of X, Y, and Z. But before this, the concept of like meeting on Zoom has existed, Skype has existed. It just felt so foreign and ridiculous to do that. Now, I don't ever have to have a board meeting in person again.
We could run lines on Zoom.
Of course you can.
Totally.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
If we just say, hey, everybody, we want to run lines for an hour tonight, instead of making you come in to get settled to run for 1 hour, be in your PJs, be at home. And for that 1 hour, though, we ask that you focus.
Because I'll tell you what, those first couple of banters in rehearsals, like once people are let out of their cages, are going to be very, very long. There's a couple times people just schedule a rehearsal.
A lot of parking lots. We're going to be standing in a lot of parking lots.
Oh, yeah, boy.
And that's fine. And we need that. You need that energy too. But, you know, I'm just looking forward to better use of time.
It's going to be, I mean, the challenge is going to be harnessing all of the energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting challenge.
Yeah. I can't wait for different energy. Oh my God. Then like soaking in my own fear.
It's also going to be, and it's going to be weird. There's going to have to be so much time given and holding space for just the acknowledgement of like, this is going to feel weird. Like, this is going to feel, we'll get back. I do truly feel it'll be like riding a bike.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to feel weird for long. You let me leave right now, and I'll be fine in an hour and a half. Completely fine at doing everything.
Yeah, I mean,
it be that way, but I keep picturing it be, and I'm like, now that we're at the end of this thing, I'm like, all I need is the word, is just go when I'm on. Like,
I also think spaces like this are going to be helpful in the beginning when things are kind of okay, but not completely. Like, because I think there's going to be people that just don't feel comfortable. And I think this is going to be a nice tool to keep them engaged to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it'll be hard definitely sitting in a theater and having somebody cough and being like,
oh God. Yeah.
But we'll be fine. We'll get over it. We're resilient. This has taught me that people are much more resilient than they think they are, and everyone will be fine. If you could adjust to this, you'll be able to adjust back to your normal life.
Right.
Right. But I think now we've shared this collective experience where, like, that that we as a collective are going to tolerate a lot less bullshit, not only, amongst each other, but from others. So, there's going to be more accountability for people's like bad vibes. I think that when you bring, people have negative energy or bad vibes, or bring in, negative self-talk, whatever it is, from, it's going to run the gamut from tolerance for all, any kind of emotion that will be more supportive of each other. Yeah.
I'm already imagining that moment, even internally, where it's like, oh, I'm so tired. Because we're still going to have bad days where it's like, oh, I'm so tired. And I really want to remember that little voice in the back of my head that's going to go, do you want to be on Zoom? Like,
right.
Do you want to not be doing this? Do you want to be back in the pandemic? Yeah.
Let's refocus in on Valentine's Day and fun and end on a really positive note.
Okay.
Yes. I'm super excited for Shakespeare Scratch Night coming up March 4th. That sounds super cool. I'm going to remind everybody, I'm really, really excited for the Scranton Fringe's Animal Crossing Festival. which will be live streaming out at the last weekend in February, February 26th, 27th, and 28th. You don't have to have the game to take part. You can live stream it on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Friday night, we have a wonderful stand-up comedy lineup, including Samantha Ruddy, who you might know from the Colbert Report, and she's a digital producer with Samantha B. And we have a great lineup the whole weekend. Yeah, I'm super excited. That's something I'm really looking forward to. What are some other upcoming virtual events, whether local or non-local related, that we're all excited for? Anything?
I'm looking forward to. I know the Scranton Cultural Center is recording their showcase. I don't know if that's how much detail is out on that, but I'm particularly excited. And New Vintage Ensemble member Terry Thompson and Kimmy Leff recorded their video with the Cultural Center. Terry performed a song that he wrote inspired by our production of Our Town. So I'm really jazzed to see that. And the Scranton NVE also recorded Horton Hears a Who for a library, whose name is escaping. Whose name is escaping me right now. Was it the Back Mountain Library? Is that? All right, all libraries. And that was a lot of fun. So we'll be sharing that. Video will get shared as well.
Yeah. I know the Everhart Museum has their Art in Bloom event coming up, which is going to be a virtual event this year at the end of March. We mentioned Shake Scratch Night, Fringe. Tomorrow, Fringe is going to be making an announcement about its plans for the fall, for specifically Fringe Under Glass 2021. So keep an eye out on our social media tomorrow for that. Yeah, I am genuinely, there's lots of work to be done and hurdles to jump through, and this year is still going to be far from anything that we would call normal. But I'm very hopeful and excited for this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great to see everybody in any way. And I think everyone's going to be very sexy on the other side of this thing. Everyone's going to be a lot sexier than they were when they went in.
I'm just looking up, let me see.
Look at Maggie's wig. She didn't have that wig.
Look at the material. Yeah.
You guys, there are no more rules.
No more rules. That's what I'm saying.
No more rules. There's some rules, but no more rules.
No, not really. There are no rules.
There's no rules. Obviously, don't be an asshole, but
just don't be an asshole. That's the rule.
But, as far as, finding your joy and chasing your happy and doing what, makes you feel good, as long as everyone's consensual and no one, feels left out, get hurt, is, anyway, right.
You know what? If you want it, I apologize, Connor. If You've Got Mail is your favorite movie, your favorite rom-com, far be it from me. I take it back.
I was just kidding.
Long live.
Right. I appreciate the energy and what you said that, I'm just going to let people like what they like. Makes you happy. You like it. Good for you. Good for you. I love when people love what they love and do what they want to do.
I feel confident in my ability to do both, right?
To do both, what do you mean? Like You've Got Mail and hate You've Got Mail?
I can acknowledge that You've Got Mail is nostalgic for me, and it's colorfully filmed, and it was entertaining, and also acknowledge that from a fictional universe perspective, he totally gaslit that woman.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
An animal.
I can choose to not emulate a fictional movie in my life.
Amazon is going to get him too. And I never root for Amazon to win, but it's just going to be real interesting when that shoe is on the other foot in 10 years.
Yeah, what happened to Kathleen Kelly and Joe Fox when Amazon started taking over?
Kathleen Kelly had a backup plan. Kathleen Kelly started writing children's books. What the fuck was Joe Fox up to? And that's all I have to say for tonight. That's it.
There you go.
I did look up. So daylight savings time is March 14th. We are exactly 1 month, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Daylight savings. That's something to be excited about.
Yay.
More daylight will vastly improve our.
On that note, I think that's a great place to wrap up for the evening. Simone, Maggie, any closing remarks?
I shot my wad on the Joe Fox thing.
It was wonderful to see you. Thank you for having me.
This was so much fun. Everyone who's watching, thank you for tuning into Fringe Focus. Make sure you share it, like everything Scranton Fringe. Join us next Sunday when we're going to have Tanis and Jess from the Farm Arts Collective, FAC. I am super, super excited. They do some really amazing work. Go check them out, Farm Arts Collective online. And we will talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.